Okay, so this is a tutorial on how to set up your plates for Lab 6. And in Lab 6, we have 4 different liquid cultures that we are going to inoculate onto 2 different plates. So the media that we're using, there's this media, which looks kind of, nice, kind of a cherry red color. That is mannitol salt agar. So you can tell it by its color, and also using our lab coding system, you can also know it's mannitol salt agar because it has a teal stripe on the plate. The other media we're going to be using is McConkey agar, and this is much more pale. It tends to have kind of a very light kind of burgundy color. You can also tell this is a McConkey plate because it has a silver stripe on the plate. So we are actually going to inoculate these plates exactly the same way, which makes things a little easier. So we are going to inoculate each plate with all 4 liquid cultures. And the cultures we're using are a known culture of E. coli, a known culture of Staph aureus, and then we have 2 unknown mixtures, Mix 6A and Mix 6B. Okay, so first of all, on the lid of the plate, okay, you want to write just an identifier. Okay, so I'm writing my name. And then this is the one time that I actually want you to write on the bottom of the plate, because we need to have separate quadrants to inoculate each culture. So on the bottom of the plate, you will divide each plate into 4 quadrants and then label them with the cultures you're going to inoculate. Okay, so I'm going to abbreviate Staph aureus as SA, E. coli as EC, and then mixture 6A and mixture 6B. Okay, so that is what it's going to look like. You want to know which quadrant you are inoculating which culture onto. Okay, and the exact same thing for the McConkey plate. Okay, so then it's actually pretty easy. You simply want to inoculate each culture onto the quadrant that you've labeled it for. Okay, so the difference here is you're not going to do a lot of streaking. What I want you to do is actually just make a Z pattern or kind of a zigzag pattern. You want to be careful to not over inoculate the culture, or it simply won't have room to grow and you won't get very accurate results. Okay, so let me inoculate E. coli first. So here's my liquid E. coli culture. I'm going to incinerate my loop, let it cool, make sure my loop is cool, and then I'm going to take 1 loopful of the E. coli culture and inoculate it using a zigzag pattern. So basically the letter Z, boop, 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 just like that, onto the E. coli quadrant that I've labeled. Do that for the mannitol salt agar plate. Incinerate the loop again, let it cool because we want to try to reduce contamination. And then grab 1 more loopful of culture of E. coli and inoculate it onto my McConkey plate in the E. coli quadrant. Okay, and once again, just a little Z, little zigzag pattern. And you're basically going to do that for the 3 additional cultures. Okay, so you'll incinerate your loop again. I'm going to do Staph aureus next. Let it cool. Take 1 loopful of culture of Staph aureus, inoculate it like the letter Z in the quadrant that I've labeled Staph aureus. Incinerate my loop again. Let it cool. And take another loop full of Staph aureus and inoculate it the same way onto my McConkey agar plate. Okay, and the same thing with mixtures 6A and 6B. Incinerate my loop, get it nice and hot, let it cool. Take a loop full of 6A, inoculate it onto my mannitol salt plate, incinerate the loop, let it cool. Take a loop full of 6A and inoculate it onto the McConkey plate. Remember, just the letter Z. You don't want to over inoculate. Okay, and then finally, mixture 6B, our second unknown mixture. So incinerate the loop, let it cool. Take a loop full of 6B, basically write the letter Z onto the quadrant, incinerate the loop again, let it cool, and then finally grab one more loop full of 6B and inoculate it onto the 6B labeled quadrant on the McConkey agar plate. So both plates, they're two totally different medias, but they're inoculated exactly the same way with the exact 4 cultures. And then once again, once you're done, put them agar side up, put them in the incubation tray, and you are done.